Welcome to SwagTips. It's me, your boy Ryan Swag here to give you some Kyogre tips. If you got any questions, let me know. I'm going to be going over a new kind of, not necessarily a new concept today, but like I'm dropping a pin on it, you know, the full details on the concept of bulk points. Super important for Kyogre. Basically, bulk points is the level, you know, the amount of HP and defense that you need to survive a certain amount of fast moves and a charge move from the raid boss and still be able to deal damage. You noticed with the Ho-Oh raid, bulk points came up a lot there because Raikou had to be a certain level to survive the solar beam to have that huge benefit that it had. So if you were shy of that, then you'd faint from a solar beam most often. So yeah, so Kyogre is like that all the time because it's just stupid strong. Mostly because Waterfall is stupid strong, so that has a lot to do with it. So this will tell you the catch CP range, the boosted CP range, which the other ones had. I just kind of like tacked it on. But it'll also tell you what I feel the recommended party size is. And it would be 4 to 6, but if you get caught in the rain, or if it's snowing and you're up against the blizzard set, Kyogre gets even stupider. So I decided to put 7. And also rejoin, yes. Yeah, if you got 4 to 7 people, you're going to be rejoining. And then I don't know the availability dates, so question marks. So yeah, this isn't the final product. There are updates to come. So starting out, against all movesets, you're going to want to have Raikou. I'm pretty sure everyone and their dog has been saying that lately, so you guys know that Raikou is the el numero uno. And when I go through the graphs today, I'll let you guys know specifically what's going on with Raikou and all of them breakpoints, stuff like that, showing you how good it is. We got Sceptile here for the glass cannon sort of counter against all movesets. And Sceptile does pose some additional advantages against the Thunder set and a little bit more against the Hydro Pump set, but its glassiness still holds it back there. But I feel like in every single fight, if I were to like select one glass cannon, like one Pokemon that is helpful, that isn't Raikou, I'd say Sceptile's definitely the man for the job. Or the Lady Sceptile, if you got a Lady Sceptile, right? So yeah, Sceptile rocking it with that Leaf Blade. And yeah, you can use any move on Sceptile, even if it's sunny weather. Fury Cutter is just that good. Or maybe Bullet Seed's just that bad. I mean, they're both good moves, but yeah, Fury Cutter on Sceptile is generally the better move. But Bullet Seed, they're about the same. So versus Hydro Pump, the Hydro Pump set specifically, you're going to want to use Executor. Venusaur is also very good, but not as good as Executor. But since they like share the same moveset recommendation, I decided to like put a little baby Venusaur up there, you know, let people know that Venusaur is swagging it. And I'd say any plus Solar Beam, and truly the Bullet Seed set is the best on Executor. The best one, like the one you want, is Bullet Seed. And you're going to want Solar Beam instead of Seed Bomb. And if you remember from my Grass type analysis, Seed Bomb is a pretty poor move. So if you're not using Solar Beam, might not want to use Executor. But you know, for your B team, or if you don't have anything else, then yeah, Seed Bomb's fine. And then kind of a similar situation with Dragonite. And I have Dragonite with the tank distinction because it has really good survivability against Hydro Pump, but its DPS is a lot lower than many other options. And for this one, I put not Steel Wing and not Hyper Beam. But yeah, as long as you don't have Steel Wing and as long as you don't have Hyper Beam, then Dragonite should be set for this raid. The best moveset will be either Dragon Breath or Dragon Tail. They're both pretty even. And then Outrage will be the best charge move. But then we got versus Blizzard. And then, surprise, surprise, Groudon's here versus Blizzard. And I'll go over it in the graphs more. But the short and dirty of Groudon is, despite sharing a weakness to grass types and flying types and dragons, stuff like that, it has enough bulk where I believe I have the specific level on the graph, so I'll just say it then. But at a certain level, it gets enough bulk where it can survive 3 waterfalls and a blizzard. And because of that, that means on average, it's going to perform much better than everything that, I guess, isn't a Raikou, right? So it's really good there. And then Ho-Oh sneaks up again, taking neutral damage because it's flying and fire against the Blizzard, and able to hit back with that Solar Beam yet. This time around, you're going to want to have that extra sensory because Kyogre is a water type and it resists Steel Wing. But you'll see on the graph that Ho-Oh is an extra tanky kind of Pokemon in this fight. So if you have Ho-Ohs left off from your Groudon raid, then it emerges again. Yeah, these fancy Solar Beam Pokemon outdoing the grass types. And then I also highlighted here with a box. Thunder is the easiest moveset, and yeah, Groudon is obviously good against the Thunder set, being a ground type. And yeah, and then these two Grass Boys are also really good against the Thunder set because they have that single resistance and they hit back super effectively. But overall, in all of these situations, you're going to be finding that Raikou is like the biggest add. And then another thing to throw in against Blizzard is Mewtwo is also really good there. But I chose to not include Mewtwo on the face of the chart because for a lot of people, Mewtwo is still like, you know, Rock Throw Omastar. But yeah, Jolteon is an alright glass cannon. Stands out a little bit in the Blizzard, but against everything else, you really want to use Sceptile. Meganium is an okay tank that you'll see on the graphs. Ludicolo steps in as being a somewhat impressive tank against the Hydro Pump set. And Zapdos is also a really good glass cannon. I'd say it's on the level of Sceptile, except Sceptile has a couple specific situations that it stands out a little bit over Zapdos. So, starting out, I'm going to go to the Kyogre versus all graph. Against all movesets, this is the performance of the majority of the Pokemon that were hyped on my graphic there. So you'll see Raikou, crazy good. It's got the best damage per second, and it's got the best total damage output. It's just the best. 38.5 is its attack breakpoint, so if you're powering up all the way, you want to go to the top with Raikou, then 38.5 is a nice place to stop, because like as you can tell, it's basically as good as a maxed out Raikou. You're not really missing too much, but then again, if you're at 38.5, you're right there anyways, so yeah, it's up to you how much rare candy and Stardust you want to spend. Then dropping down, here's 32.5, and I believe that's a bulk point. And I'll go over bulk points in more detail in the upcoming graphs because the bulk points are specific to the charge move, so it makes more sense to talk about them with the charge move. And then here's 31.5, and then dropping down, here's a 27.5 Raikou, and 27.5 Raikou is like just as good as everything else at level 40. So if you got Stardust to spend and you want to have Raikous and you don't want to max out anything, or you don't have any of these guys maxed, then maybe powering up some more Raikous might be good. But there are certainly reasons to power up a whole bunch of these other guys too, as I'll go over. So even though Raikou is the king of this fight, you know, you should, like, don't feel pressured to get like a million of them, because even though Raikou's super good, after Kyogre's done, there aren't any tier 5s projected for Raikou to perform really heavily in. So yeah, me personally, I'm just gonna only power up a second Raikou. I've got one good one, and then I'll have a second kind of good one, just to help squeeze things out in this fight, because I want me a lot of Kyogres. Going into Hydro Pump now. So this is not the hardest Kyogre moveset, but it's got the most amount of Pokemon to talk about on it, because, you know, grass types are good against the Hydro Pump, and there's so many grass types out there. So yeah, so this is plotting level 40 Pokemon versus a Waterfall Hydro Pump Kyogre raid without dodging, because Deathloop glitch still exists, right? And so yeah, and of course there's not just level 40 Pokemon on here. I got all these lovely break points and bulk points, and I believe I labeled them all too. So if you just see the number, like Executor 35.5B, that B is telling you that it's a bulk point. And what that bulk point represents is that there's a certain amount of fast moves that the Executor can survive there, and a Hydro Pump, and still be alive to do its Solar Beam. So kind of important to pay attention to those. So against Hydro Pump here, this one, I think it's the ×5. I got my info, got my notes right here. So Executor, yeah, so that's the ×5. So this 35.5 Executor here can survive 5 Waterfalls and 1 Hydro Pump. So the average amount of waterfalls a Kyogre does before using a single bar charge move is going to be 4, but that's the average amount. And we've all had times where it's like the raid boss seems like it uses like only 2 and then it launches it. And then there's times where the raid boss does like 7 and then launches it. 4 is the average. 5 is also very close, so it's very useful to pay attention to. An Executor clears that at 35.5. So if you wild caught an Execute or something at, you know, level 35, all you gotta do is power it up like 1 or 2 more times, depending on your IVs, and it'll be set that much more for the Kyogre raid. 34.5 is a attack breakpoint for Bullet Seed, and then 31.5 is a breakpoint where it survives the 4 and then a charge move, and then can launch its own charge move. So yeah, so what's important about these bulk points is that, you know, we've all had that situation in the raid where, you know, you're charging up your solar beam, you're charging up, you're almost there, you're about to launch it, maybe you've even pushed the button, but then the raid boss uses their charge move, KOs you, and it doesn't even register. If you have the bulk point met, then, you know, you're more likely to survive there. And then, yeah, so Raikou has a bulk point here at level 32, and I think that might be for 4 of them, 4 hits. And then after that, you can see that between level 38.5, which is where it meets its offensive breakpoint and it does more damage, you can see that there isn't that big of a gap in TDO between them, like comparatively. And then here, 31.5 is the defensive breakpoint for Raikou, and that's just the defensive breakpoint. That means Waterfall does 1 less damage to it, but it isn't until 1 more power up later, level 32, that it crosses that bulk threshold to actually survive the Hydro Pump, right? So it's just kind of an interesting thing, bulk point. Like, we've all known about this concept before, we've all known about this idea, but yeah, so lately I've been looking to drop pins on it, let people know where all those specific points are, because, I mean, if you're looking at level 31.5 versus level 32, that's like a pretty significant gain for 1 power-up, and then there's not that many gains to be had between level 32 and level 38.5, you know? And then similar with Executor, I mean, that's 35.5, and that's like the equivalent to a maxed out Executor. Ludicolo is even worse. I think this is just an attack breakpoint, but level 35.5 Ludicolo like almost completely overlaps its level 40 iteration. So yeah, bulk points, pretty important. And as always, I'll have these graphs in the description of my video when I put it on the YouTube, so y'all can access it. I'll have it in an album, really easy to get. And yeah, you'll see Meganium's also kind of tanking this fight well, and kind of tanks it a bit worse at 38.5, and that's an offensive breakpoint for Vine Whip. So unless you're like a Meganium enthusiast and you're willing to max out a Meganium, basically, it might not be the best choice for this raid compared to an Executor or a Venusaur, especially an Executor at level 35.5, right? So yeah, Hydro Pump. You might be thinking like, well, how do I find out these bulk points on my own? I have a Pokemon with imperfect IVs, and let me tell you, man, I'm not a hundo hunter, so I've got tons of Pokemon with imperfect IVs. That was probably like 20 minutes of me just talking about bulk points, when I'm here supposed to be talking about Kyogre. And it's worth noting, I didn't plot out weather for a lot of things, but in a clear day, I think you can assume that Executor is going to be better than Raikou here. Alright, let's talk about the hardest moveset now. Alright, so this is Kyogre counters against Blizzard specifically, neutral weather. Man, things like, gosh, Blizzard, right, in the snow, not fun. And Blizzard is also influenced heavily by the rain because Waterfall is like stupid strong. Like, Waterfall's stupid strong, so yeah, Blizzard is by far in all scenarios probably the it is the hardest moveset on Kyogre. So with Raikou, 38.5 is basically exactly even with its level 40. Here's 37.5 where it crosses a specific bulk point for the battle. So you'll be able to survive, I believe this one is for 4 waterfalls, and then the Blizzard. So then you'll survive with 1 HP, which is very useful because then you turn that Blizzard damage into Wild Charge damage onto the Kyogre. So yeah, and then 27.5 is another bulk point for Raikou. So these are like the 3 important bulk points of the fight. But as you can see here, that level 27.5 Raikou is like basically as good as all the other stuff that's good, and it's better than everything else. So it's like Blizzard is like a huge reason why Raikou is el numero uno for this fight, but all around, yeah, Raikou is the bomb. Like I said at the beginning of the video though, like don't feel pressured to power up tons of them. I mean, myself, I'm only going to power up a second one. So, and I'm not even going to max it. I'm probably just going to take it to like 32 or something. So, yeah, don't worry too much about powering up Raikous or feeling like you're not doing enough. Ho-Oh stands out as a tank in this fight, so it's got lower DPS, like 11. You can stop at level 33. That's a defensive breakpoint for it, so it's taking less damage from the waterfall there, and you'll be fine. And then yeah, like I told you, Mewtwo stands in front of Groudon a bit, but if you're not powered up to like at least level 38, then it's not doing so hot. It drops pretty quickly. And then Groudon's also really good here because it has enough bulk. Here's the level 34.5 bulk point. There's an offensive breakpoint that Groudon meets at like 38.5 or 39, so that's why it jumps up here. But the Groudon, 34.5 Groudon is pretty good in this fight. But yeah, you can see here that the level 31 Groudon is pretty close to it too, because a lot of this stuff is just like fainting in one blizzard, so really rough time here. So that's why Groudon and Ho-Oh are the only 2 that are repped for Blizzard, because everything else just gets trashed by Blizzard. Like one blizzard and all this stuff is dead, more or less. So yeah. So this is the Thunder moveset, and it is the easiest Kyogre moveset because just about every single one of Kyogre's counters have an advantage here. So once again, 38.5 Raikou, stupid good. And then this 35 bulk point, and you can tell that it's like not that big of an improvement from 31.5 because this is something I'd like to call a complicated bulk point. So when I say complicated bulk point, I mean that there's a combination of attack things that are going on that brings Raikou to this. It's not just, you know, X amount of fast moves and 1 charge move. It's like 2 charge moves, and then there's like a sliding scale of where the fast moves are and when the fast moves happen. You might be as good / better off just staying at 31.5 though, if you're going to be frugal. And if you're going to power up to this, you may as well go for broke, go for home, get that 38.5, you know what I'm saying? Here, I also made the distinction between Dragon Tail and Mudshot Groudon, and I didn't do that in the previous graphs. But yeah, so Dragon Tail is almost always worse than Mudshot. But 38.5 or level 39, basically you're at max. Dragon Tail hits an offensive breakpoint, which means it does 1 more damage, which brings its DPS to be significantly higher than Mudshot for once, because Mudshot doesn't hit that breakpoint. And as a result, in this graph, where I'm using everything at level 40, Dragon Tail right here looks way better, but I can assure you that under level 38.5 or level 39, whatever the breakpoint is, it's basically level 40. If you're not there, then it's going to be much worse than Mudshot. So if you have a maxed out Groudon and it's got Mudshot, then use a TM for this fight. If you're not going to max out Groudon, if you're going to stop at the like the level 34.5 defensive breakpoint here, or the level 31 offensive breakpoint for Mudshot. So yeah, you can stop at level 31 and have it be as good as a level 40 Executor against Thunder, or you can go a little bit higher to 34.5 and it'll do that much better. But if you do go all the way home, you go for broke with your Groudon, then you're going to want to switch over to Dragon Tail. And then here you got Executor 34.5, which is Bullet Seed's offensive breakpoint. But if you power up to level 37.5, or let's say you wild caught at level 35, if you power it up enough times, you can reach a bulk point, which lets you survive that much better in the raid, and then it'll be basically as good as a maxed out Executor. And then yeah, you can see here Mewtwo's here, and Mewtwo's like, kind of sucks. So for this graph, I decided to quickly plot some clear weather points. And yeah, you can see here that Executor at level 40 with clear weather is basically as good as Raikou is. And it's similar with Groudon in clear weather. And this Groudon is the Mudshot Groudon. Letting you guys know that Mudshot is generally better. It's just because in neutral weather, Dragontail hits a very late breakpoint, so it makes it look better, you know, at the end of powering up. But in general, Mudshot's gonna be better. Even with the weather boost, you know, this maxed out Executor is still technically worse than Raikou. You know, they're as good. I'd say they're as good, but it's technically worse than Raikou is still. So that's really a testament to Raikou's raw power. Now in the Hydro Pump set, they're gonna look way better than Raikou. So let's be real here. So this is against all of Kyogre's movesets in the rain. Right, so that's like everything Kyogre does except for Blizzard is amplified. And you can see here that Raikou is standing out harder than it has ever been in the history of this raid. Now you might notice that some of these breakpoints are a little bit different. So the weather alters breakpoints a bit. It allows you to hit them sooner. So something to be mindful of if you play in the rain a lot. But yeah, 36.5 Raikou. 31.5 though. Still way better than everything, and 26.5 is still technically better than everything. And then you get down to 24, and 24 is like as good as everything. So in the rain against all movesets, Raikou is already good. Now Raikou's just like make you feel bad, super crazy, unbridled goodness. Because rain is boosting Kyogre's attacks, even though it lost Dragontail and is now a pretty poor option against itself. In the rain, because it has a damage boost on all of its attacks, it does allow its DPS to like rise from the depths enough, so it's actually a very potent tank option to itself. And then Zapdos, all of its attacks are boosted, so now it's getting an advantage over Sceptile in the rain. And then Jolteon, who I said before was a generally poor option, is pretty good, very worthwhile in the rain. So yeah, so being mindful of the forecast, what weather is going on in your world, can really influence these battles. That was a cut from my live stream SwagTips. SwagTips streams every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time on the Twitch channel SwagTips. If there's a specific topic that you'd like covered, comment below and let me know. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe. Seriously, just hit subscribe. SwagTips. Swag tip, yeah, it'll help you, it increases your catch rate to subscribe to me. Yeah, don't press OK, that's not real, but subscribing to me, trust me.